Well, folks, this gentleman, I believe, does not need an introduction. He is an absolute legend. There's no question about it. Alex Collier is here with us. Alex Collier from the great state of Colorado. How are you, my friend? But before we get started, folks, the Quantum Summit 1776. Yes, I'm trying to recruit him to come down to the event, and I'm going to try as much as possible to try and bring us. There's a few people that are a little bit down and out, you know, that thing. But anyway, needless to say, we're going to try to get him down there as well. But we do have great news. Lloyd Brunson, yeah, Supreme Court, Lloyd Brunson has confirmed he is going to be down in Cape Canaveral on June 8th and June 9th. And I'm going to definitely put him on stage with 107. And if you think we're not going to capture lightning in a bottle, you'll be making a mistake. I'll tell you what, this gentleman's story, traveling through the cosmos on motherships that were bigger than the state of California, you know, 100 miles high and 10,000 miles long and 3,000 miles wide. And the entire containment of that thing, where you had pristine water and pristine vegetables is fascinating beyond belief. I mean, if the only runner-up he really has in that category would be none other than Billy Meyer over in Switzerland. But these are the two who's who of the who's who when it comes to UFO, or should we call them IFO, identified? We've been identifying them for quite a long time. Alex, welcome to the show. I want you to also talk a lot about the XRP and the quantum financial system and the ZIMs and the dinars. There's a lot of stuff happening on that front, and we got to wait for Joey Bag of Donuts to get the hell out of our way. Welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, Jimmy Bag of Donuts and Broken Nose Luigi.
How you been, brother?
I've been hanging in there, just watching the shit show, trying to figure out what moves to make and how to try to protect loved ones and ourselves. It is obvious that crazy people are running the show. It really is. But thank God for the White Hats, for Space Force, Solar Warden, and the new Starfleet that they're going to be starting. Actually, I heard that they're going to introduce Solar Warden as the new Starfleet, and they're going to make everyone assume that they just put it together, even though it's been together for, many, many decades. But whatever, at least the information comes out, no
No
matter how
question.
it comes out.
No question. No question
So,
about.
getting back to Billy, Mr. Meyer has had his own journey, which is equally as fascinating, if not more so. And he's had a rough go of it.
Yeah.
It's cost him family, loved ones, an arm. And I think each case stands on its own, but there are other people now that are coming out that are sharing their experiences, and one of those would be obviously Elena Danam. She's having some remarkable experiences, and Tony Rodriguez and Jean-Charles Monet and his wife Melanie. They've been part of the 20 and Back program. They have extraordinary stories, and there are so many others that are coming out now, because this isn't it's it's no longer conspiracy. I mean, we're seeing the ships. They're seeing the ships. Some of them are ours, but they're starships, and many of them are not ours, and they're seeing them as well. So it's finally coming to a place, Mel, where everything is starting to ground down and grind into everyday reality, which of course gives us more perspective as to, one, who we are, two, what our potential is, and three, it gives us the opportunity to truly dream about the future we want. Because now we feel like we have options, because we can see options, we can imagine options, than just nuclear war, which is all that we've been fed, over and over and over again for years and decades. So, it's a fascinating time to be alive. And We're seeing a brand new economy, a brand new global financial system or systems come being birthed. We're seeing the return of real money, asset backed. Uh, it's interesting. This system that we've been using, the central bank cabal system, Mel, it got so corrupt that I think even the originators of it had no idea how to wrangle it in, because every layer that they created in the beginning had become completely corrupt. So the foundation of that system was crumbling on its own. It was going to crumble. Anyway, there was no way it could stand the corruption that was even in the old cabal system. So, but I think it's fortunate that they've decided to go a different route. Not the cabal, but others decided to put their foot down and start pulling some pages from what Jock tried to do back in '63. And Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Lincoln was printing interest-free money, the greenbacks during the Civil War, because he was sick and tired of having to go to the banks of England and France and borrow money from them because of all the restrictions and the ridiculous amount of money that they wanted. So he just used the Constitution and went back and started printing greenbacks. And of course, he got taken out for it. Jack signed an executive order and started printing interest-free silver certificates. And of course, he got taken out over it. And, here we are again, one more time, trying the whole thing. And, one of the originators of this plan or I don't know if he was an originator, but certainly someone who was trying to execute the plan. And we all know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
They would crucify him if they could.
Well, they're trying like hell, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure as hell are. I mean, it's just ridiculous, especially to a system that's gone anyway. There's no way to keep it up. There's no way to prop it up. Either side would have had to have gotten rid of it at some point because it's so rotten.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but everything that's attached to it. I'll tell you what, though, and this information just came out, and so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to assume you don't know, but you probably do. It turns out that every car loan, every bank loan, every mortgage loan, every commercial loan are all attached to some derivative here or there. And I just found out that JP Morgan has oversold real silver to the tune of 1.13 billion ounces of silver. What they did was they sold the paper, and now the people that hold that paper are now wanting the physical, which doesn't exist. but they were using the derivatives that they had, 77 trillion in derivatives. They were using those themselves to short and or long silver and to fund the paper overage of actual silver. And I mean, if that doesn't wake people up, if that doesn't like tell you, wow, the whole thing's been a criminal syndicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the mafia's got to be blushing at the at the enormity of
Yeah.
of this shithole criminality. It's just profound,
Yeah. Yeah.
And my kids are like, Dad, I hear about this and I hear about that. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. Well, why? And then I have to explain to them that the monetary system isn't real. It's just paper and ink, with pictures on it. And so how would silver work? Well, you would use silver, you know, to pay off your debts if you had silver, and it would be by the ounce. And they're just like, because they're not taught any of this in school. They're
Sure.
not taught
Of
real
course.
financial anything in school. They're just taught to take orders, follow orders, repeat these mantras, you
Hmm.
know, be a sponge, and that's it. Don't think for yourself.
Yeah.
The system will tell you what to think and what to do.
Yeah. Paper and ink is a right analogy, except you forgot to mention pictures of on the actual paper. Okay. Because that's what it is.
There's a few, that's for sure.
Okay. So, the bottom line is Trump is the ultimate card. He's all in. The Patriots are all behind him. He's still flying into, rallies today with 70, 80,000 people that, want to see him. Everybody loves him. They realize he's the guy that's going to put pretty much everything back on track. It's going to take all of us behind
Well,
them, obviously, yes,
let,
but he's the guy.
let's keep it in perspective. He's the face of the movement.
No question.
And obviously he's got um elephant gonads,
Yeah.
okay, because he's there battling every day.
Hmm.
But he's the face. There's Patriots, there's Space Force, there's Solar Warden, there's the Marines, there's the United States Navy, there are intelligence operatives. There's so many moving parts to this on both sides. And I think what's really interesting is that because the White Hats had to play catch up for so long, and they had to blend into the system in order to understand the system and look for the weaknesses in the system. And because they were playing catch up, they really learned how to be creative. They really learned different ways to take something down, to take down this, take down that, change the message, offer a different message, how to entrap, how to ensnare, how to maneuver the entire corrupt legal system through executive orders,
Yeah.
so that no matter what they did, as long as that executive order stood in place, that was the law. And then what they had to do is migrate. Once they had a handle on the intelligence agencies, they had to then migrate to the legal system. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's it's going to be an absolute remarkable story when they can tell it, as to how this whole thing shifted from dark to light.
Yeah. Both sides are all in, my friend. And I think, winner takes all. Everybody's got all the casino chips. Everybody's in. We outnumber them probably 100,000 to one. That's what people don't realize. That's why I always say Trump is too well insulated, I think, for that to happen. I really believe that. Where are you on that?
Well, that's what I hear. Um, you have to wonder, does he have body doubles? Does he have clones? Um, is it him that's really going in? I can tell you this, that the closest um, bodyguards to him are not Secret Service. Okay. They're
Trusted people.
they're yeah, most of them are SEALs and
Yeah.
Marines.
Yeah.
And the outer layer is Secret Service. But the closest to him, they're not Secret Service. And
Yeah.
it's not that they're not good people, but if you look at the film of Kennedy's car when he entered Daily Square, and he comes down Elm Street and he makes the turn, his Secret Service detail come off the back of his car. All right. They're called off the back of his car, and they're standing in the street like this, like, what are we doing? And then he goes down into the kill zone and he's gone. They take him out. So I mean that's on film. They have that film. In fact, it's probably on YouTube somewhere.
Right.
So I think, being that John was a very, very close friend of Mr. Trump, that they've had a lot of conversations about this,
Yes.
you know, and Trump's known a lot of people. He's been in a lot of circles, and he has done so much for the military that people just have absolutely no idea about. And the servicemen that I'm sure a lot of information was shared with him, and they probably were really excited about, him running at least the white hat portion of the military, because, they knew they had somebody who had their back, and this government doesn't have anybody's back. I mean, they claim to love America, clearly hate Americans, because the border's still open, tax day, April 15th, what do? They collect all this money and they turn around and they give you, and then come back and put in, in the 2024 election,
Yeah.
in 2025 election. I mean, we know how this works,
Sure.
And it's a shit show. It's just a shit show.
Yeah, it's like foreign aid. You're familiar with foreign aid, I'm sure. They did that in Costa Rica. We had footage. I'll repeat, we had footage, not a picture. We had footage, video footage of Gates coming into town. Well, then play ball. That's how it works, man. That's how,
exactly
because
how it works.
90% of that money comes right back law for, and they allow these products to come into the United States, but on one condition: the products are there,
And
so that they can get rich on the stocks. Yeah, so that they can get rich on the stocks, right? Because that's what they own. It's a game.
There are a lot of new technologies that are trying to come out that are consistently being blocked throughout the last decade, or I should say the last millennium. There have been stories. Look at Tesla.
Yeah.
Look what he did at the World's Fair in St. Louis. Look what he did at the World's Fair in New York, in Chicago. He powered thousands of acres with lights. No one had any idea how he did it, and he did it without wires. Then he goes to Colorado Springs, builds a lab down there, wirelessly turns on lights in Denver, and Harriman Brown, who is the New York banker, says to him, "Well, how did you do it?" He goes, "Where's the meter?" And Tesla said, "Well, there is no meter, it's free energy." He goes, "Oh, we can't do this," and literally shut Tesla down, pulled his funding. It's just, these guys, these people are just monsters.
That's exactly, Alex, why they don't want Don to come back, because he wants us to graduate out of this extension of a Model T Ford with 4 tires with air in it. Okay. He wants us to graduate out of this cumbersome travel system, which resembles a bird made out of metal in the sky that does 600 miles an hour. And that's not fast.
Yeah. Well, a lot of folks are just, they've been really dumbed down.
You think?
That's affected everybody. But Mel, this system, the way we're living right now, is not sustainable.
Yeah.
And they already know it. And they've known it. They had an idea when it would collapse on itself. And instead of initiating the future to us, their plan was, well, in order to cover up everything we've been doing, we only really have one option, and that's to eliminate.
Yeah.
That was their plan.
That was their plan, but it didn't work out that way, did it?
Well, no, it hasn't. But that was their plan.
Yeah.
That's when the White Hats moved in and said, whoa, 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 wait a minute. This is all of us, including some of them. They're going to just wipe out everybody. And it's just, most people simply can't grasp this. They're like, no way, that's not possible. Because they simply don't grasp the level of darkness, of evil that permeates these people's being. Just look at the universe, look what they're doing. You cannot be a sane person. And I don't even want to get into the adrenochrome.
No, I want you to take the cart off the rails. Go. This is when we were on what do you call that program? Skype. He said, "Sit down. Let me talk to you." These are big time deals. Leo Zagami is
Yeah, I know who he
huge.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And Leo said to me, "Would you believe me if I told you that they bring in?" Who would do that? Only animals.
animals. Yeah, not human, but animals nonetheless. A lot of stories like that involving the royals of Europe. It's just well, I know. I've known about this since the 90s. And that was one of the things that prompted me to even want to come out and talk about it. And I was really naive at the time. I thought, who's not going to want to know this? People will want to know about this. And Mel, I was wrong. Nobody wanted to hear it. And the only people that really supported me were people that I never in a million years would have expected. One retired CIA officer spent some time with me after a talk, and he said, "You don't stop this. You have got to do this." And I said, "Well, why aren't you doing it?" He goes, "Our hands are tied because of who's involved." And I did talk about it until that day I went to my mailbox, etc., in Boulder on Baseline in Boulder, Colorado, to get my mail. And when I came out, there were three men in black there. And this was 2002, maybe 2001, 2002. And when I came out, there were two to my right and my left, and then the gentleman in the middle. He pulled out a manila envelope from under his coat and then opened that up, pulled out a list, and read me down this list of 14 names. And he said, "Do you know these people?" And I said, "You already know I do." He goes, "Well, if you do know," and that's when I stopped talking for 6 years.
I
And the
remember
only
that.
reason I came back, the only reason I came back is that I had a contact from Mornay, and he told me that those gentlemen and that it was safe for me to talk again. And that's when I started to go back out.
I've been following you for
I
a
didn't
long
ask,
time. I've
I
been
didn't
following
ask
you for a
how they
long time.
died. I didn't want to know. I'm just like, wow. So, but they were watching, they were watching.
Brother,
And
I've had a dozen or so death threats myself. All right. And I'm not a tough guy, but I'm out there on the front lines like you and a lot of people.
yeah, it's getting pretty strange. And I don't know if most of these people that do this kind of stuff actually understand what they're doing. If they're just given a phone call and said, "This is your target," like in the movies, and they just do it.
Yeah.
Um, and they haven't got a clue as to why. But everybody's got to get a clue
Yeah. Yeah.
because we're going to take ourselves out if we don't figure this out. If we don't get
Yeah.
rid of this evil, because
Yeah.
it's a horrible, horrible.
It really is. But trying to wake people up that are clouded, their pineal glands are so clogged, they've been poisoned to, and I feel sorry for them. I'm not talking bad about them, okay? I feel sorry for them. It's really been a battle because it's like you're talking to a bad radio. It's like you ever go to the beach and you had a radio with a broken antenna and you almost were able to dial in the station, your favorite station, but you didn't quite do it. You have to smack the radio a couple of times and put aluminum foil on it to get to where you want to go. That's what we're dealing with.
We had black and white TVs as a kid with aluminum foil on it, on the end of the antenna. Oh my
Oh my
God,
God.
yes. To try to pull in a station.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah, we had quite a few TVs that had some dings to
Yeah.
it.